we are the three ways again for you every week with the incredibles Glenn and Sandy. Of course, we love when you want to come live with us, but we're also happy to share awareness with you. So we're gonna wait for these incredible hypnotherapists. Why the three ways? Because as you know, we all have one way of approach to life, to therapy, to healing, and to thinking, and to beliefs. As we always believe, beliefs can always change, but we all need the belief at the core of our heart, which is also part of the purpose. So, hi guys, so nice to see you, friends. Today, of course, the topic will be wild, as always. We love going wild within our soul. Yeah, naked souls never go wrong. So, Sandy's here, so nice to be together again. Ciao, Sandy!
How are you?
Well, and you?
Good, I heard wild and naked souls. I'm like...
Yes. Ciao, Glennino.
Hello, both of you.
Hello.
Happy Thursday.
How are you guys? Dream team, I call you.
Woohoo!
Absolutely. I'm drinking this crazy morning smoothie. It's got beets, it's got celery, it's got some detox powder, it's got ginger, it's got turmeric, it's got coconut water, blueberries.
Wow.
Apple. Crazy how much is in this smoothie.
I'm so jealous. It's just when you go back and watch the recording, I want you to see every muscle in your face go like this as you talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
How many smoothies do you drink per day, Glenn? To inspire also one is enough.
Yeah, every morning I drink, this is my new one, and it's like, wow. So it's intense, but it's good. Good detox. All right, so you're back in
Through this hour, you'll get through the rest of it.
It's thick, but it's good to cleanse out the arteries. It's good to cleanse out everything. This is intense. It's from my Ayurvedic doctor, this particular blend, and it's wild. So we got, as always, another Thursday. Bring people on, maybe.
Yeah.
But I got some concepts that have been in my mind right now. So I think we could start with these and go from
Amazing.
there.
Yeah.
All right. So I've been working a lot this week with repetitive thought. People that have repetitive thoughts in their mind about life, about themselves. And we all have repetitive thoughts.
Yeah.
To some extent. Some to an unhealthy extent, some to a normal extent. But when I think about what are beliefs, right? Beliefs really, aren't they just thoughts that we keep thinking and reinforcing that become beliefs? So belief systems, especially negative beliefs about ourselves, these are the repetitive thoughts that we have that we begin to believe that are our truth. And I think it's a really good way to discuss, and let's think about this angle. The beliefs that we have built through the thoughts that we think, especially the repetitive thoughts that we let in. So there we go. Let's start off with
There you go.
that. It's a pretty big, it's a big onion, but it's a beautiful onion to really examine and think about. Right? So
Yeah.
hit us up, light us up, Francesca, then light us up, Sandy. What are your thoughts
All right.
on these
So,
things?
Yeah. I believe, Sandy, do you want to start or shall I say what I think?
No, go ahead.
I truly believe that, as of course Glenn said just now, we all have these repetitive thoughts, as is our nature. That's why we have to transform these negative thoughts in positive thoughts. It's like hypnotizing ourselves. We can hypnotize ourselves in a negative way or in a positive way. For sure, when emotions are involved, it's difficult to be so mechanical and be positive all the time. So the idea I have is when we recognize these repetitive thoughts, we have to go to the root of the problem, communicating it. If it's about us communicating within ourselves, is it about someone else communicating it to someone else? Of course, with a clear mind, straight to the point, but of course with a sweet tone, because we cannot blame anyone for these repetitive cycle thoughts in our mind. So it's important to be open when this happens, I believe.
Open so you don't get stuck, so nothing
Exactly.
festers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. So, Glenn, one of the things you said, remind me of your exact words, but basically it was like when we let in these negative thoughts, right? How did you say that?
Well, the negative thoughts that we ruminate on and come to know, we come to believe those as they are real beliefs for us. You know, our beliefs are just our repetitive thoughts that we sometimes very falsely begin to believe that they're true. And the thoughts that we choose to let in our mind and stay in our mind versus the ones that we say, you know what, I hear you, I think you, but I know you're not the truth. And I'm not going to watch this movie anymore in my mind of what you're making me think, you know?
Right, right. So the image of let in, right, then you see somebody sort of pushing away at what they don't want, and that's exhausting. Yeah. And when you're pushing at it, you're getting more of it, right? Because you get what you look at. So that makes it all sound like very hard work. And it doesn't
hard work. Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be that kind of hard work. If we were to consider that thoughts, just as anything else, are simply a match to, well, what we've already been thinking, right? Your own vibration. So if I were to sit either of you guys in a room and 100 guys walk in, and without them speaking, you have to pick out the most confident one, both of you would do a very good job. Because the guy who comes in and he's standing like this with his chest held high, you're like, yeah, not you, right?
Exactly.
So just when, you know, the people who try too hard, forget it. We already know that. But when we just use those senses of observing, right? So you call it somebody's vibe, somebody's vibration, because they're not speaking, but yet you can still find the confident one. So it's something we put off. So sometimes people use law of attraction, but some people really don't like to hear those words, law of attraction. So just call it your vibe. Call it how you're showing up. How you're showing up is going to attract, because people can see that and they're responding to it. So whether you use the words law of attraction or you just say how you show up, you're going to find your right matches, right? Yeah. When you see these intrusive looping thoughts, they are no different. You are attracting thoughts the same as you attract the people in your world and the situations in your world. You get thoughts based on what you've already been thinking, what you've already been feeling. If you are so irresponsible in life as to allow everything around you to train what your next thought is going to be, you never get a grasp on it because you hand your power away to everything. So when you can sit in the morning and whether it's meditate or do something you like that's all on your own, meditation is the most powerful, but you don't have to do it, right? You can do it in other ways. When you just set out for your day and choose an emotion, today I choose empowerment. So no matter where I go, I'm going to be a lion and I'm not going to care about what the sheep think about me, right? So when you just sort of bask in your glow, your thoughts are only responding to what you have chosen, and It is always a choice.
Because the responsibility we should all have, I believe, instead of these external responsibilities, is the responsibility of our own mind. Exactly.
So if you understand and accept that thoughts are just a manifestation. In fact, they're the first manifestation, and then the lucky that you got the car, and lucky that you got the girl, and lucky that you got the career. Those are the later manifestations. The first manifestations are our emotions. What we think gives us an instant emotion, so that's what we're creating in our life. Thoughts, here's the simple concept. Thoughts are just a manifestation like anything else. So rather than try to slow them down or push them away, whatever speed is there, don't fight it, let it be, but find something to look at or think about that you do enjoy, and then more thoughts like it will join. It takes about 16 seconds.
Yeah, and it's also about the comfort zone we find in this repetition of thoughts, because it's easier to fall in that same trap, victimization trap of thinking the same because we are used to it. So it's like a comfort zone.
Because you're used to it, right? A belief or a habit, same thing, or just a thought you keep thinking. So can I give you a real life example of this?
Yeah.
Do it.
Glenn, I know you have kids, I have kids. Francesca, you have many people you love. It's a similar thing. So our kids, you know the way they describe kids, it's like taking the heart out of your own body and letting it run around drunk. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So
Ripped out of your body.
Wait, say that again.
As your own heart is now ripped out of your body.
Yes.
By these
With my
kids.
children, my heart got ripped out, but then somehow fat from some other part of the universe got sucked in. All those things happened at the same time. So when I'm out on the playground, I'm watching my kids play, and I have that 10 heart attacks in a row. Oh God, they're going to fall. Oh God, they're going to get, you know that feeling, right? That parent panic attack that happens multiple times a day. So I do my very best. When I catch that panic attack moment, and I've had plenty, and I do this for a living and still, okay? When I catch that, I remind myself, this is a reminder of how much you love your children. You are basking in love, right? And so I'm able to just take that thought that was otherwise a very negative one and use it to transform into something even better than before. You have to practice that like anything else.
It's about practicing, absolutely. We have an important question, guys, because it's very interesting. What do you guys think about non-duality teachings? The self is an illusion. I believe nothing is an illusion if you feel it true for yourself. So duality or multiple personalities can be real if you are standing for yourself while you have different aspects of your personalities. Unless you are copying someone or you are trying to be like someone else, is about the truth anyways, even though you have many personalities within, I believe.
How are we defining duality?
Yeah, that's a big concept.
It's a big concept, yes.
She basically, from what I get from that question, and we all kind of take it a little differently, which is perfect. The self is an illusion. So the concepts I don't relate to, and Francesca, you might, and Sandy, you might. I don't like the concept of we have ourself, then we have the ego. We have ourselves, then we have illusions. I think of life that way. It makes me feel like that concept puts us at war with ourselves. Because if you're like, oh, my ego is telling me this, and I'm this way, I'm not listening to that. And I hear a lot of anger, a lot of negativity towards this idea of your ego wants this for you, but you want this and don't listen to your ego. The same with illusions. Now, I like to break it down. Maybe it's the same thing, but for me it's different. When we talk about beliefs or thoughts or feelings, some beliefs and feelings and beliefs are true. Some thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are not true. And I find a lot more awareness looking at it from that point of view versus something being a pure illusion or something being ego-driven. Just, is this the truth or is this not the truth? Are these thoughts serving or are these thoughts not serving me? That's
Also,
what I... So go on.
Yeah, no, regarding this, Glenn, what do you think about the self being an illusion? I believe the self is not an illusion, it's the identity that we are attached to that is an illusion. So transformation, respecting yourself, is not an illusion. So transforming is not an illusion. But the self, the idea we have of ourselves not to change, that's an illusion. So it's the conviction of the self that is an illusion, not the rest.
We could take 8 billion people on the planet and ask them just to define the word illusion alone and get 8 billion different answers. At the end of the day, when somebody's asking these questions about illusions and duality and non-duality, if we look at their purpose for asking the question, it's almost like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's almost like they're asking whose story is right. And once I know whose story is right, then I'll be okay. And Glenn alluded to this when you spoke basically, Glenn, about checking in with what feels right for me. You use different words, but just sort of checking in with how it feels for you. Whether we define it as duality, non-duality, illusion, at the end of the day, what everyone is really asking is, what is the right story so then I can move on with my life and get it right? And the only way you can know about getting it right is checking in every moment. How does this feel? How does this feel? So when people have worked with me for a number of weeks and we sort of get to the end of their time with me, they'll often say, Sandy, I've changed and this is who I am now. This is who I was. This is who I am now. I say, wait, put the brakes on. Don't do that. Because the moment you define who you are, even who you've become, or even who you want to be, the moment you define you, you limit you. And so instead, when we can allow the definition of who we are to be what feels right now, what feels right now, it's what I call modernizing. Allowing the permission to move forward, to shift with the changes, roll with what's going on, because everything in life is moving parts. We know that for sure. And those moving parts give us space for our elbows. They give us space to breathe. So we can move in the right new direction and leave everything else behind. Everything else is left behind. And all we are doing in any moment is what feels good right now, what feels good right now. And that can be the definition of the story. What feels good right now. Let that be. Just like, is God a boy or a girl? Really? You know? So when we let go of personifying the story of illusion even, and we just say, well, what feels right now? Because at the end of the day, all we're looking for is love to transform those negative thoughts and feelings. And that is the answer. I look at my kids, it freaks me out. And then I go, oh yeah, it reminds me of how much I love them. Right?
Yeah.
Everything is in movement, beautiful, Sandy. So if we don't move along with our transformation, not looking at this duality, fake self, while believing in what you feel day by day, transforming, that's the truth.
Yeah. But
somebody in the feed asked, how do I get rid of these thoughts about fear of getting sick, like puking, right?
Yeah.
What was can you see it, Glenn?
Yeah, how can you stop thoughts from traumatic experiences and phobias? Well, that's what hypnotherapy is based in, but specifically a fear of vomiting. Okay. Oh, that's
It's an illusion, in my opinion, guys, also to think positive when the reality is somewhat something else. So it's important to accept the reality. Only with the truth of the reality we can transform the negative into positive, because the illusion makes the reality as it is, it doesn't change it. So the illusion of having a reality that is not as it is, that's very dangerous. So we always have to accept the truth, because only in that way we can transform the negative into positive, shades into light. So there is no illusion that can transform anything. Imagination is one thing, illusion is something else.
When you say illusion is different than reality could be bad, so positive is an illusion. I understand your point, but when we redefine what actual reality is, who were the people who played in this Super Bowl? There was the Mahomes guy team, and then there was the other guy who had a brother on the other team. I don't remember the teams, but there were the two teams. Oh, yeah, Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles.
Eagles, and what was Kansas City?
Yeah, Kansas City.
Okay, and Kansas City was the one who won, right? Okay, so
yeah.
Kansas City wins. The reality for Kansas City is very good. The reality for the Eagles is very bad. So which is the real reality?
But it depends on what reality,
both
which
reality
you're talking about.
Both are realities, though. The reality of the same event, and that's the same thing that happens as we kind of go into this fear and phobia. So two people could be standing on a corner of a street, and there's a car crash. One person sees the car crash, goes on with their day, and they're fine. The other person witnesses the same car crash. That was the worst thing I've ever seen. They have to go home, and they are completely traumatized by what they saw. Two people seeing the same thing, having very different experiences. And that's when we get into fears and phobias. When it comes to a fear of throwing up, my feeling on that is it is basically a fear of loss of control. Because throwing up is both voluntary and involuntary. Let's just say it's involuntary for people that don't force themselves to throw up. So throwing up is a involuntary thing. It's almost like a sneeze. You can't quite make it happen. It has to happen on its own. And if there's a fear that this can happen to you in an area where it may not be convenient, that will start to build up its own anticipatory anxiety. And with that, generally, not always, but generally there is a trigger for that feeling in your body. It's either to a life experience, a life event. It was a defense mechanism in your body as a way to cope with something. And then it just ran its own pattern, and that pattern became too strong. So in order to get rid of those repetitive thoughts, we have to examine, where did this come from? And you may or may not know. And you also have to ask yourself, and we do this in hypnotherapy, why is my subconscious mind running this pattern? Well, the reason it's running the pattern, it's trying to serve you in some way. Even though it's a negative habit, it's a negative thought, it's a negative action, there is a positive reason for that action. And you may not know, but you do know, actually. In the conscious mind, you don't know. But when we go into that deeper place and we connect with it, something might come up that you never even realized that started this pattern in your life. So we have to examine that pattern. And that's how we break the cycle. But
Glenn, can I do something for our friends to understand better? Of course, how come there is this controversial situation on having a negative action within a positive reason? So can we explain more about this?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I'll give you the short version, and Sandy will give us the juice.
I can feel it's difficult to explain. You say breaking the cycle, but it's really difficult to explain this. Because
it's best to use a simple example. And I'll use a smoker. The reason from 90% of smokers, the reason the subconscious mind runs the smoking habit is it's giving them for a positive reason. Well, I only relax. I can disconnect, I can relax, nobody bothers me when I smoke. Oh great, this is what we need to do to have you relax? I'm going to have you smoke more, so you can relax more, so you can disconnect more, so you
But
can...
it is an illusion that is relaxing you, because as we know, the cigarette...
Yeah, but we're talking about the intention.
It's a false belief.
The illusion.
Yeah.
So the mind says, listen, I need you to relax. If smoking is the only way I can get you to listen to me, that's what we are going to do. On a more extreme version, there is a study, I don't know where it was, I remember I saw it. Most males have heart attacks on Monday. And the reason is, Monday is the day we drive back to work. And so, after all these years, all this tension builds up, this stress, the weekend is over, I'm driving to work. Well, the subconscious mind goes, well, maybe it's time now to give you a final break from going to work. Let's bring that stress into the area of the heart, so you have no choice but to listen to me. If I use fear to control you, Francesca, you don't have to go face those uncomfortable situations. If I make you afraid to leave the house, well, then you're not going to get hurt. Then you're not going to be uncomfortable, even though I'm crippling you with the action. My reason for having you fear and stuck in the house is so you don't have to go out there and be afraid. Is that a little more clear?
Yeah, so it's basically a replacement of, instead of doing something worse, you do something less worse, but that still feels like negative, but then as a positive reason. Okay.
The primitive mind is only about survival. It doesn't know right, wrong, black, white, shame. It doesn't know any of that. It just knows, I got to keep you alive. So, and it seeks self-soothing. It just seeks self-soothing. That's all it does. And it doesn't have logic. So it chooses not logical stuff, and the logical part of your mind is like, what the heck? And that's where you get really frustrated. But you can't use the logic part of your brain to change the not logic part of your brain, because no matter how many times, try to talk sense into a 2-year-old to let me know how you did. Right?
But because we can give an explanation, it is logical.
Say it again?
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Because
say it again?
An explanation, it is like...
The explanation is logical. Like, we say it's not, say it again, Francesca.
Because we can give an explanation to it, as we can create a structure for it, it's logical.
You can, when you're speaking, you're coming from the logical part of your brain, but the nonsensical stuff that you do habitually doesn't have logic. For the most
Yes.
part, your
Doesn't
habits.
have but we give logic to the nonsensical action.
Yes,
So
the explanation of it is logical. The explanation of what it's doing. There's a logical explanation for the subconscious mind not understanding the difference between reality and fantasy.
Yeah, I understand.
There's a logical explanation in that. Yeah.
But that logical explanation can never change your habits.
Correct. Because there's a logical explanation for it. That's what we're saying.
Correct. Yeah.
So, so go on. Go on.
Go on who? I'm done.
Keep going. Keep going.
All right. Well, then let's look at the fear of puking. Okay. So I've been in the hospital for panic attacks. I'm much better now. They still come on, but I deal with them better most of the time. Most of the time. That's the best I've got, right? So back before I was pregnant, I traveled regularly. I had a travel TV show. And then when I got pregnant, I continued to travel for my travel TV show, but they got me stunt doubles because we went to these really fun places around the world and I was very athletic. So now I'm pregnant and you can see that I'm pregnant on TV hosting the show. And I had stunt doubles doing all the other. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was called the 100 Best Places You've Never Been. It was on TV Land. So now I have the baby and I'm a single mom. It was a traumatic birth. Just a long story short, I sort of died giving birth and they saved me. And so just a lot of trauma around the birth experience, but everybody's fine. But anyway, so here I am. I had a babysitter who was going to be flying with me to take care of my baby while we traveled together so my baby could come with me. The babysitter canceled 10 minutes before the car was going to go pick her up.
No way.
So now I'm traveling alone with a tiny little brand new baby. I don't know anything. I don't know what I'm doing. And you go to, in these 100 best places you've never been, you take a big plane to a little plane, right? So here I am between planes with my little baby, all of the bags, all of the things that somebody was supposed to help me with. I was out of my mind and I was still a new mom, knew nothing. I'm an old mom now. I still don't know anything. And so here I'm waiting now for the second flight and all of a sudden that heartbeat starts to go. Are you guys familiar with that? Like when you feel a panic attack coming on?
I never had it in my life, I have to say. I can be so aggressive with my words sometimes. Like, I can say I hate you, I don't want to see ever you in my life, but I never had a panic attack.
I got to tell you, Francesca, it's one of your greatest qualities. You just get it out.
It would be so sad to hear that from
exactly. That's my method.
Wait, say that again, Glenn, what?
That would be so sad to hear that from Francesca. I never want to see you in my life. That would be such a bad day.
The worst thing is that I truly believe it in the moment, and then I change my mind after 20 minutes. It's incredible.
Yeah, but that would be soul crushing. It'd be like.
Glenn, that's because you're a sweet and kind human. If she said it to me, I'd be like, I can't help it now. I'm turned on. Like,
I hate lying to my emotions. I respect my emotions so much that no one ever can go against it. Yeah, you do. All right, so fair. So that's fair. So here I'm in the situation where I have my tiny little baby, all these bags and everything, waiting for this plane to so we can get on the plane. And I feel it coming on. And as a mother, you do things very differently than before you had kids, right? So my only care in the world is that my child is going to be safe. So I have puked in public, like bad, okay? It's been a very long time since it's happened, but I have, and I know this is about to happen, right? Or I'm going to pass out or something like it, but I feel it coming on. And I talk about staying calm. I couldn't. There was nothing close to it. I was already past the edge. So I took my kid with me, obviously, and I went to the most trafficked area of the airport where lots of people are walking by. I didn't hide in a corner. I didn't go to the bathroom. I went to the most busiest place and sat down on the floor so I knew I couldn't drop him. And I knew I couldn't fall any further. I sat on the floor with my child in my arms and I just said, all right, bring it on, pass out, throw up, whatever you're going to do, just bring it on. Somebody will help him and I'll be fine, right? Somebody will help him if he needs it. And that was maybe 10 minutes, but you know that 10 minutes it feels like 20 hours, you know what I mean?
That's a long 10 minutes when your heart's going like this and you don't know what's going to happen. It ended up subsiding because I didn't fight it anymore. I just said, bring it on. Bring it on. There was no, and this is what I want to say to whoever was asking the question. When you release the embarrassment, let me say it in another way. When you shift your relationship to the getting sick, then getting sick happens less. So if you were my client, I would do everything Glenn said, because you're right about everything you said, going for cause, everything Glenn said. And then the way I would work forward with this is in 2 stages. Stage number 1, first shift your relationship to it. I got so far past the embarrassment, trying to hide it, caring what anybody thinks, didn't matter, right? So shift your relationship to it. It doesn't scare me, it doesn't bother me, because if it happens, it happens. Because the thing you're really afraid of is the embarrassment and the loss of control. So when those things don't matter, boom, right? So when you really just work to shift your relationship to it, that's 1. And number 2, then it's the lowering the volume on it. Then it just occurs less. And that's how I would proceed with that. And it would probably take, some people, that doesn't need to take long. Maybe 1-2 weeks, maximum 4, I'd say, on something like that for most people.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah, it really depends on how receptive they are. And it also depends if this fear is of any use to them. You know, for a secondary gain standpoint, which it can be. Like when we had somebody with, some people use extreme anxiety for secondary gain. Some people use fears for secondary gain. So there was a Veronica that wants a session. Does that mean you want to come on with us? I think Sandy's due to do a little hypnosis.
And I believe, guys, if you agree, of course.
I'm good, you can do it.
If she wants to come, new friend, come with us. I believe it's also a matter of how we grow up. When parents don't, for example, satisfy your needs, the child is used to cry till he gets what he wants. So this victimization trap, it's typical of people that grew up like this along experiences within families during their childhood. So we truly have to go backward sometimes to understand our emotional reactions, the way we react to these situations from our childhood. It means a lot. It truly can solve the whole problem in one day. If
victimization trap, that's a great descriptive word for that.
Yeah.
Really good. It really describes what it is, a victimization trap.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to sound completely like a conservative right now. I think the way society is training themselves to grow up today is to be victims.
Totally.
The younger generation, can I tell you? And I love the climate as much as anyone on this beautiful planet. I want a beautiful planet. If you ask me to recycle, I will recycle. If you don't ask me to recycle, I will recycle. You want some compost? Here you go. I have no problem with any of that. I walk, I hardly ever drive anywhere, okay? But when people say, this is going to be really political, but when people say, I have climate anxiety, okay, that's a very different statement than saying I care very much about the client. I have climate anxiety. That statement says, I have no control over my emotions. I never will. I've just trained myself to be a victim, and I'm getting a trophy for being a victim. I have climate anxiety?
Yep.
I would say yes, and it's so true. And unfortunately, because as you know, I love astrology, some signs are typical to fall into victimization traps. So we cannot blame everyone for being a victim, because it's sometimes.
Oh, but I'm blaming this entire new generation for giving each other trophies for being victims.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Somebody made fun of you because you look.
I
like
agree with you, Sandy. Mamma mia, just to wake up, less victimism and more action for yourself. So annoying, I agree.
If everybody has to speak to you a certain way, if everybody has to behave a certain way, if everybody has to call you by a certain name in order for you to be happy, you have set yourself up for a life of misery and victimization.
It's a shame.
To try to control how people need to speak to you, how people have to behave, what they have to call you, how they have to address you. Life is not meant to be like that. That is not life. That is a fake. That's an illusion of control.
That's an illusion. I absolutely agree. So I think there's more victimhood now than ever before because people are getting the golden ring for saying, look at me, look at all these things I'm a victim from.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
Absolutely.
And I have to say, I don't know you guys, as a coach, it's so annoying to me sometimes, because when it's about clients, of course, then friends, lovers, we understand, family, we understand. But when it's about clients, I would be so mad at them, because it's truly an illusion. So they can just get it out from it in 1 second if they want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you use the word illusion, Francesca, it's when I might use the word false belief, a false premise. I think we're kind of saying the same thing. We're using different words.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Veronica, is she going to come on? Did she put a request to come in or no? And then somebody else. Is she there?
Can you move these questions around? I never tried.
Yeah, you can just scroll up and down.
Oh, I always thought they just went away.
And Sukun, S-U-K-U-N, you can also ask any question you like.
Well, we're waiting just to see if somebody's going to come on to be hypnotized. We really need to be talking about that. This is a podcast now called The Three Ways.
Yes. Yeah, and this one started off like a perfect podcast with a nice topic. Sometimes we get started in different areas. Last week we were all over the place.
Oh, I love
each other, and we debate, we fight in a healthy way. We have 3 different ways. While we wait for Veronica, guys, do you want to tell more about your own way? So, what's your way? It's like if someone asks you, what's your way?
Because we call ourselves The Three Ways.
Yeah, also.
I think it'd be kind of fun if we each said what the other people's ways are. If we talk about our interpretation of everybody else's way. Francesca, how do you see the three of us?
I see it as dreamers and risk takers and action makers.
Wait, who's which?
All of us.
Overall, all of it.
Yes.
The all of it, risk taker, dreamers and action takers. But I believe, it's very important to be wild and to be there, to be different. For wild, I mean not, of course, lacking respect or lacking respect to yourself, but truly being wild, exploring with not too many limitations. Of course, that can have different meanings, but in my opinion, it's truly important because that's the only way to understand what you want at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, before I forget, March 26th, finally, I'm starting my training course. I have dates picked out. I'm using Michelle's office to tape it in. And I'm going to do 4 Sundays in a row. It's going to be probably 4 hours each training session. And I'll be training the foundations of hypnotherapy and what suggestibility is. And I'll be training on, the approach of setting up a session, doing some fear and phobia, and just the real foundations of no-nonsense hypnotherapy without any of the BS fluff other people teach. So I'm excited.
I'm so excited. And now is Michelle going to join you, or is it just all you?
Amazing.
I'm going to have somebody with me that I'm demonstrating on, and I'm going to do it. It's going to be live on Zoom, and I'm going to record it at the same time. You know what? And I'm not going to say her name right. Anita, maybe? Anita. I'll just say Anita. I know I'm shortening it. Why is hypnotherapy not used and accepted by the mainstream psychotherapist counseling? That's a great question. It's because they just weren't taught it. That's my belief on it. It's becoming more and more mainstream. I've had doctors send me people now. I had somebody come to me through a therapist that said, listen, I've worked with you for years. They actually found me and sent them to me to get over it like that. So it is becoming, but it should be. Yes, there is nothing more effective in so many areas of lives, but it's getting there.
It really is changing. I would say a high percentage of my actual clients are doctors and therapists. They are my clients.
Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also it's about you when it's about hypnotherapy. It's not about you going to the doctor, being dependent. If you don't take the medicines, you don't heal, or there is something going wrong. It's about you and about the transformation you can give to yourself. Yeah.
I love it. Blanca said some of us do. Love it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's becoming
Yeah.
more. There are many traditional therapists that are using hypnotherapy now also.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
getting
They come
there,
back.
but
Tristy, by the way, Tristy, thank you for your kind words and hearts. All right, go on.
yeah, it's getting there. It's just getting like anything else. The same reason people don't run to Ayurvedic medicine. You know, the smoothie it's finally done. You know, but Ayurvedic is Indian holistic medicine, and benefits are unbelievable. You know, but it's not that they reverse so many things that traditional medicine doesn't. You need both. So how do you guys feel about seeing hypnosis negatively in movies? I know it is it puts a quackery spin on it like that. I mean, I thought it was funny, the movie Get Out, because to me it was comical. But for many people, it does reinforce the fear of what they don't understand. And I just see it for what it is. What do you think about that, Sandy? It doesn't really, I see it as comical, but I don't like it for hypnotherapy as a whole. You know, like you would probably, did you see the movie Get Out?
I didn't see it. People have told me about it. I don't care.
You don't get. I think it's not good for the overall consciousness of it, but for me, I thought it was funny.
Yeah. Yeah. My son was telling me about a guy who got traded. I hope I get the teams right, but some guy who just got traded to the Knicks, if I'm right. It was some basketball team, and I guess the game was yesterday. And so his other team was like, F you to the guy, like over and over and over and over again. Maybe the Celtics or something, saying F you, like this whole stadium full of people yelling F you to this guy. Anyway, so he just like, you see him just get like completely fired up, and then he makes the shot from like mid-court or something, and then he's like, F you, right? And you know, that's, and I think, Francesca, you live your life the same way. You know, people can, a whole stadium of people can chant F you to you. You're going to still be you. You're going to still do all that you do. And when you have your moment, you're going to say, F you to you. But it doesn't, it's not going to take you down.
I'm always myself.
Yeah, people can
like
say.
you guys, I suppose, because we are conscious about ourselves. Yeah.
So, Veronica, we all do private sessions. I do sessions. Sandy does sessions, and Francesca does sessions. So all of us work with people privately. Yes, absolutely. So scary. I even get like, maybe we'll do this. I don't know. I run ads all over the world for my online community. I could read you some of the comments that people put on my ads. And maybe that would be, I keep a folder now. I keep a folder, I call it the dead folder. And it's all the negative comments that I get. I screenshot them, then I delete them. And they're really...
Yeah, comments of people...
People wouldn't say that stuff if they didn't think you were a big enough target to take it.
Yeah, you know, it makes me laugh, but I keep them because I share them sometimes with people, and it's like, wow, look what this person said to me. Look what that person said to me. It happens every day. I go in, but I never ever respond. Some people I block so they can't come back again. But
yeah,
I don't.
But
I just.
guys, what has been the most difficult situation along the last sessions you had? Of course, as coaches, therapists, healers, like what has been the most difficult? I would say the blocks, because sometimes blocks are so easy, we think, to take away, but actually they're deep rooted within the soul and behavior of people. So for me, it's sometimes it's the block, I feel, that is truly difficult to be replaced because it has been there forever.
It's blocks in general. Well, that is what we work with, right? You want a specific example of a client we recently worked with?
Yeah, no, there are different blocks. We're talking about deep-rooted blocks, like truly blocks that are part of the mind, heart.
I can give you one. Yeah, I can give you something very specific. Do you want to hear it? Okay. So I had a guy about 36 years old, your typical New York blue collar guy. You know, his hands are like, his fingers are thick because he works with his fingers. You know what I'm talking about? Super thick accent, like, hey, how you doing? Like, really that guy, right? And so, like, none of his friends know that he's coming here, right? Because of what people say about hypnotherapy. So he comes into my office, and it was so sweet. The reason he comes into my office, he's like, you know, sort of kicking invisible pebbles with his boots, you know, his work boots. And he's like, so, you know, I'm getting divorced. And I'm like, okay, so, you know, what can I do for you? And he's like, you know, fix that. I'm like, okay, I understand. So he's he's sitting in my chair with his head in his hands. He's a sweet, sweet guy, and he just wants the love from her. He goes, "You're not gonna believe what you did to me." I said, "What'd you do?" He said, 10 years we were together. I swear to God, Sandy, I never watched porn. I never watched porn. I never watched porn. And then what am I supposed to do, right? So she sees this on my computer. She takes a screenshot, sends it to everybody I know. He says, "I can't believe she would do such a thing, and I'm so good to her." I said, "Hold on a second." I said, "You just justified," now talk about mental blocks. I want you to hear what's going on here. I said, "You just justified to me your reason for looking at porn. Stop it right there." I said, "If I would have known you 10 years ago, I would have come over your house, smacked you in the face, and said, if you don't watch porn, that's your problem." I said, "Because the problem in this marriage is not that your wife or near-to-be ex-wife is controlling and horrible and trying to turn you into something you're not. She's doing all of those things." I said, "But this is your problem because, hear me, I said to him, you misrepresented yourself to her 10 years ago when you promised that you're a guy who doesn't watch porn. Because let me tell you something. You're a guy who loves porn. And you pretended that you're not. You also think there's something wrong with it, which means you think there's something wrong with who you are. There's so much screwed up going on here that the first thing we need to do is get you to stop unlistening to your gut feelings. Because you think your gut feelings are bad and wrong. You've trained yourself to unlisten to yourself. I said, if we were to even try and fix this marriage, you'd have to continue to be who you're not. So we need to just work on you and understand that she's not the problem in this marriage, you are. You lied to her from the beginning about who you are. That's not her fault. That's you. So now let's clean that up moving forward.
Yeah. What?
But also, I don't understand why people are so scared about sports. Is the balance that is important, because otherwise it becomes a bit mental. But there is nothing wrong on watching porns.
Oh my God, don't get me started. Of course there's nothing. And to every wife who's watching this or listening to this, your husband is a man, he likes porn. Okay? And he likes other women and he likes all that stuff.
No, the fact that he likes other women is, in my opinion, very sad, because that means that the attraction you have for your woman is not so deep, because as soon as you fall in love, and I can see this because that's what I relate to my sessions, always matters of love, divorce, people that are breaking up, people that lack love. Love, at the end, brings you to this healthy state of liking people, yes, but then you truly like one person. That's my, of course.
Let me tell you something. I am in love truly with Jennifer. I want nobody else but Jennifer. She is my life partner. It is so amazing. When I see Shawn Mendes, I do drool. So it's okay to have both. It's okay to really love your person.
But in fact, I think, Sandy, the truth is that we all have different nature. Of course, we can be attracted by many people, but it's not the same as watching porn. You cannot look at any woman and think of her naked. I mean, of course, that's because you're not fucking enough, in my opinion.
So every guy who's with you, I'm just telling you now, even if he completely loves you, he's lying to you because he's seeing every woman naked. I know that because I am too. And I love Jennifer.
So much work to do.
The other. I love my coffee. I love my
so
coffee.
Much work
I love
to do
my
with
coffee.
both of you. Oh,
I
boy.
love my coffee. Listen, I love it. I love it. I'm never going to cheat on my coffee. I love, but if I'm smelling pizza, it might smell good to me. But it doesn't mean I don't love my coffee.
We have different nature. Also, we express our sexuality in different ways. Some people just imagine everyone naked and want to fuck them all. Some people express sexual energy in other ways, creativity and ideas and things to do. So there are different ways of expressing sexuality.
If your guy is telling you that he never pictures another woman naked, he's lying in order to keep you. Because he really likes you, but he's lying. So why not let him be who he thinks is? It doesn't mean he has to do it.
Glenn, what do you think about this sexual environment we're talking about?
There's a term in the East Coast that we use, and it's called agita. You guys are giving me agita.
Glenn, listen, you have to solve this for us because you are our straight dude here.
Sandy
Tell
gets
the truth. Tell
reference.
the truth. You've been in love with women throughout your life. Have you ever had a moment that you didn't picture women naked other than your girl?
Vabbè, of course it's normal, but not in the extreme, because otherwise there is a problem.
There's a few analogies that we have in this area. Then there's a really good question that this guy asked. So some say it doesn't matter where you get your appetite as long as you eat at home, right?
I like that.
So we are visual creatures. There are many beautiful people in this world. And yes, it is very natural. You are naturally attracted to more than one person in your life.
Yeah, it's totally normal. Yeah.
Yeah. What you do with that attraction. Hey, wow, if you're in a marriage and you connect with somebody in a very special way and it feels a little too strong, it's like, wait, I need to examine what is going on in my primary relationship. If I'm getting attention from somebody else and this feels really
That's what I mean, Glenn. Exactly.
Yeah, I heard you say that.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
But then there is healthy things. Like, you know, you had a flirty moment, but you stopped it and you moved on and you knew, and then you let it go. It's natural. People are going to connect with you in this life. But your boundaries that you have within yourself,
Exactly.
if you're in a committed relationship, need to be strong. But yes, we are visual, and things are made to stimulate us visually. You know,
exactly. Because when there is respect, sorry Glenn if I interrupt you, otherwise it's just about this. When there is respect, there is also the freedom of exploring this world as a couple or alone, because without any respect, things get worse. While with respect, also communication, understanding why these things are happening, and then there is this beauty of exploration alone or together. It's because, freedom is important, attraction is there, of course, of beauty of life, but it's important to have these self-boundaries and respect.
Attraction and cheating are different things. Attraction, cheating, different things.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong if you and Jennifer are out and this model walks by for you to go, wow, that girl's really beautiful.
Unless she beats me to it.
Exactly. But there's a difference in noticing beauty and then ogling or being inappropriate over that, you know?
Agreed.
So noticing that people are beautiful around you, there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, there's people everywhere.
True beauty is beautiful because that's your also sensitivity that is of course announced.
And if you're so insecure that you can't point out beautiful people in a respectful way, then that's something you have to look at, which many insecure people do in marriages and relationships.
You said that really well. That's exactly it. Yeah, you got it.
That's the main thing. And as long as
we got it.
You got it.
As long as you use things and things don't use you, especially with things like pornography, it can be very unhealthy when that uses you instead of you using it in a healthy way in your life. Many people turn to pornography for that dopamine hit, and they become very unhealthily addicted to it because there is a very dark side outside of the maybe sexy side of pornography. There is a very, very dark side of pornography, and it creates most men's sexual issues have to do with pornography. Most men who not perform the way they want, it's because the imagery and the dopamine connection between what they do online destroys their imagination and their ability to enjoy a real relationship.
That's how I feel about vibrators.
Because so sad.
They desensitize. I hate them. They desensitize you, and then nothing's good enough anymore. That's kind of what you're saying.
It's very true. But there's even a more unhealthy side to that. But
porn in general is not bad, because that's like saying food in general is bad. So food can make somebody obese, and porn can be an addiction that's working against our good nature. But porn in and of itself, fine. Just as food in and of itself is not only fine, but can be very good for you. So they're both in and of themselves neutral and potentially very good things. So then it just depends, how are we using them?
If you see it in the...
Like everything in life.
Yeah, if you see it in the Course in Miracles way, where nothing has any meaning other than the meaning we give to it. If you see it in that way, yes. But there is an undercurrent that is dark underneath it. But so is with food, you're right. So is alcohol.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it as anything different than food. And where Francesca uses the word illusion, when you refer to the Course in Miracles, that it doesn't have meaning until we give meaning to it, that I think is the illusion, Francesca, that you keep talking about. And then I would have to fully agree.
Yeah.
Which illusion? Sorry, I lost this last.
When Glenn said that when we look at porn from a perspective of A Course in Miracles, what would A Course in Miracles say, Glenn?
Well, it's for me, watching a porn is not an illusion because it gives you sensations. But as Glenn said, it's a sensation in the mind. So you're not truly participating to this sensation, which should give you pleasure, and actually just give you this addiction because there is no satisfaction, because there is not happening. And so they cannot even perform, all these people that are very sexual in their mind, because they're used to this mechanism. And so when it's about the act of performing, they don't know what to do. Because it's a habit. So it's not an illusion for me, something that gives you sensations, but it is an illusion to think that is positive long term, or that is real what is not real. But the sensation is not an illusion. That's why it's dangerous.
So if you had a boyfriend, you really loved him, and he were eating some food, and he's moaning about the food, like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever tasted. Wow, right? Like really sensually enjoying the food. Oh, that's my alarm that I got my clients outside. If your boyfriend is sensually enjoying this food, which I do daily many times, right? Are you like, oh my God, am I not good enough? Like, would you say that to him?
No. But I never think, for example, that I'm not good enough. I think why I'm so attracted to. Are we talking about attraction?
No, she was
ahead.
making an example that was a different example about what things mean to us.
No, this is insecurity, Sandy. I mean, if you're asking me, I would say no. Of course, there are many cases. Yeah.
All right, one quick question, then we'll wrap it up. This guy asked, can hypnosis help me to get over a situation, getting rid of the memory in my brain? I'm stuck into something for more than 7 years, and it's kind of getting me towards the self-doubt. Hypnotherapy is not about forgetting a memory. It's about removing the emotional attachment to that memory that keeps you stuck. We don't need to forget. We need to change our association to what we think that event means in our life, and that's where the freedom is. That's where we let go of the emotional attachment and get to keep the lesson. That's where the shift occurs. That's the work Sandy will do. That's the work I will do. That's the work Francesca will do, in a nutshell, right?
If we remove one situation, we have to remove 100 situations, and then we have to remove 100 future situations. Forget about it. We make it so you can look at it and it doesn't bother you anymore.
Yes. It's all right. This was fun today. I got to go
Exactly.
too. So
Beautiful
I'll have our
it's already 1 hour. Well, okay.
All right. Go download the 3 Ways podcast, and don't search out the name 3 Ways because there's too much with that name. Look up one of our names. Look up one of our names, and you'll find it that way.
Yes,
Right.
the 3 ways. Don't forget your way. Vai, guys.
We'll come up with a tagline.
All right.